have anything you want to say about what happened with the Liverpool player?
Yeah, I woke up this morning to the news, and it's funny how things work. I was watching the 17-18 season that had flashed up on my computer yesterday, and it showed Ruben Neves' goal for Wolves against Derby in the 17-18 season, and Diego Jota was playing in that game, and it just shows you, he went over to the UK that year, and we've seen a wonderful player, and unfortunately the world's lost him and his brother to a tragic accident, and our thoughts go out to everybody.
How do you feel like your squad is from an injury standpoint? I know there's no Zaha from availability, but how's everybody else?
Yeah, it's quite ironic that the most fouled player in the league gets suspended, isn't it, for delaying the restart. Pretty ironic, but no, we've got a couple of injuries. Doumbia came off with a hamstring injury. It's not as bad as the last one, but it'll put him out for this game. Privet's not trained since the Chicago game. He's had some hip flexor problems, so he's doubtful as well for the game. So certainly defensively we're bare bones at the moment.
I was going to say, it almost kind of feels like when you have the defensive issues that you've had, it almost seems like you'd want to do something punitive, but the numbers almost kind of prohibit you from doing so.
Yeah, they do, and that's if I look back, that's probably the one thing that we've lacked this season. We're consistency of players. Certainly in the back line, certainly in the last 11 games, we've changed that back line an awful lot. We've changed the keeper a couple of times. We've had different centre backs playing. We've had different left backs. We've had different right backs. And that's hindered us a little bit, but they're reasons, not excuses, and we have to make sure that we do our jobs better than we did for the goals last week against Chicago.
I know that maybe being surprised is maybe not the right reaction, but what were your thoughts about what happened in the second half, moving Pep to the wing, and it basically looked like stylistically what you guys did to close the year?
Yeah, no, it wasn't tactical, to be honest, that changed it. For me, it was the mentality. It was, run a little bit harder, run a little bit faster, make contact with some opposition players. We spoilt it for the first ball, look forward, play forward, and we did that really well. Got into it with two quick goals, but then they changed to, try and stifle that again, and it just became a little bit tougher after that.
Would you, looking back, have maybe thought about subbing sooner during that stretch where, like I said, you got the goal right around the hour mark, and then there was probably that period of kind of waiting for something else to happen?
Not really. I mean, I look back at it and I've watched the game back. Idam was our best player, and he flagged towards the end, but there was no chance I was looking to get him off. Pep's one who can go and create something out of anywhere. Wilf had created. Was getting chances as well, so it was really hard to change one of them front three. Diani had come on and did really well, so you're struggling really where you go and change it with what we had available at that time.
What does it mean to you and your players to be back at home?
We'll kiss the ground before we walk in. We haven't been there for a while. It's a long time since we've been there. I'll be. Hopefully, I won't get a nosebleed when I walk into the stadium. It's been such a long time, but no, we're looking forward to being there. It's been a long time, and I think Columbus was the last game, wasn't it? Which seems, at least a full moon ago.
In terms of this stretch, 9 out of 11 in the loss column in MLS play with defeat. Is this maybe rank among some of the more confusing situations, because you've talked about the performance and yet the results have not followed that performance?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked back on it over probably the last week, looked back at them games. So, the last 11 games, I think we went top of the league after San Diego. Was it San Diego?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we've had 11 games since then, as you say, lost 9 of them. And, indicators are 2 indicators you can get for games, and that's the result for one. But that can be skewed at times, and then you've got expected goals as well. So I looked at the expected goals because my eyes were telling me our performance were better than the results. And in expected goals out of them 11 games, we should have lost 3. Which tells me that the performance levels have been there, but we've been making lots and lots of individual errors that have cost us results at the end of the day.
Steve. In golf, when a player's putter stops working for him, sometimes they call it the yips. Is that something that can happen, in a sport like soccer, football, where just things happen? Because this is very gray areas. Like, you have very consistent players who have been making mistakes that are not been in their nature in the past season and in the first part of this one. Is that something that can happen to an athlete? I mean,
it can happen to an athlete, yeah, definitely. I mean, because you see it you've seen it in golf, you see it in darts, you see it in most sports where players go through tough times. American football would be the same. So there's no reason why professional soccer players can't go through that as well. I've not seen that on a consistent basis from my players, though. I mean, I think some have just, last week, for instance, Adil Melanders was an uncharacteristic mistake. Privs is an uncharacteristic mistake. So it's one of them that, you have to learn from it and move on. That's all you can do and get better.
somebody pissed off a witch doctor? Or something? Is there a curse there?
Yeah, I do look out the window quite a bit at the moment, but no. Yeah.
But how do you deal with that? And with all of the stuff that's around now and stuff, are you any sports psychologist? Or?
No, listen, I've always been big, and I've said this from the first moment I came in here, it's performance. That's all the things that the players can guarantee. They're in control of their performance. They're not in control of the results of the game, their performance, and that's what they have to concentrate on. Make sure that you give the best performance that you can. Make sure you do the basics well. Make sure you look after your teammate if he makes a mistake. They're the main things that our players are in control of. So that's the one thing that they have to concentrate on.
Are you successful in working with them mentally to understand it's the next play, not the last one that matters?
No, definitely. The best players in the world will make mistakes. It's always what you do next. And that's what we constantly speak to the players about.
Thank you. Carol?
Cheers.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, Carol. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Who else do you have to play center back besides Tuiloma?
I'm not registered, so I'm not available. So, Taloma, Jack Neely, obviously, from the legacy, will move up to the squad as well. I mean, Privs is not ruled out yet, but he's doubtful.
Getting Pep extended through the rest of the year and maybe beyond, what does that mean for this club?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good news because he's a really good player. He had a really good start to the season. I think he's joint top goal scorer, top assist maker so far this season. And he's enjoying it here. We enjoy having him. I think he's getting better and better as well. So, I think it was good news for everybody.
And Idan Toklomati, what are you seeing out of him and what he can bring, especially without Patrick?
I thought he was outstanding last week. I thought he led the line really well. His movement was really good. He got in behind their defenders. He had a couple of unfortunate contacts where with balls through to him. One where he just the ball got stuck under his foot a little bit. Another one where he tried to hit it over his shoulder with a left foot. But he was a constant threat and certainly deserved his goal. And I've been happy with his play.
Yeah, obviously we're so used to watching Pat and his size, and this is a different kind of player. What do you think are his biggest assets?
I think his understanding of where the goal is and how to go and score goals. He can be tidy when it comes up to feet. He needs to get better on that as well. I remember one came into him where he probably could have took a touch, and he tried to lay it off and put them on the attack. But he's constant running in behind, and the way he makes runs in behind will certainly be good for us. Thank you.
Anna?
Hey Dean, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Wanted to the center back conversation. Is there any outside backs that we've seen feature this season who have played in a center back role before? Not this year for you guys, but outside that.
No, I think Diani has played as a left-sided centre back before.
Okay.
I think that's the only one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then with Zaha being out, Will had mentioned BL playing in a wider area. what is your movement with that? Are you going to keep?
Yeah, no, there's the option to keep him centrally where he's been creating so many, but there's also the option of putting him out on the outside as well and drift into the pocket like he did when he scored the goal on Saturday as well. So we've got a couple of options, and with Wilf being out, that throws that option up a little bit as well.
And then Orlando, you guys saw him like 2 months ago at this point. One player that they don't have that I thought was really good was Alex Freeman with the U.S. right now. How do you evaluate that last performance against them, their quick offense, and how quick they were able to get in behind you? Like, what adjustments do you make for Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we changed our system for that game and played 3 at the back. So it was a little bit different for us. Looking back on the game, I think XG was 1.9 for both teams. So there was some big chances created for both teams in that game. We know each other really well. We played each other 5 times last season, and we've already had a game this season as well. So they're not going to change the way they play. We have to come up with answers and solutions to make sure they don't get the chances that they got, certainly at their place for their goals, but make sure we create the same and convert them. Cheers. Thank you.
Mike? You touched on expected goals, run of play, your eyes aren't lying to you. What does video with this group look like when you're talking to them and going through the talking points of the mistakes and the errors? Because obviously uncharacteristic mistakes cropping in.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I always do is in this room, we go through the big things that I believe have influenced the game. So, big chances, goals, different tactics of the games, and ask the players what they're thinking at that time. Because it's hard for me to coach them if I don't know what they're thinking. So, it's asking that question. Addy, for instance, what was you thinking at that moment? Well, the ball was spinning, so I didn't think I could clear it left foot. So I didn't see the lad inside. That's why I passed it back to the goalkeeper. So he's got a reason, why he did it. Was it the correct reason? Obviously not. But he has to learn from that. Then I'll ask the question, okay, people who are in close proximity to him, how can you help him? Well, we can tell him. We can say, we can scream. It's got to go, So that's the kind of thing we'll work with the players to actually find solutions to problems they've had.
How much, and I know that being called up to the national teams are a great honor and that sort of thing, but how much are you missing Hat and Reem right now based on what the struggles have been over the last?
Yeah, you always miss good players. I mean, Patrick's made it to the international squad, and we're really pleased for him and proud that he's done that. We knew we were signing when we brought Tim in, an international. It's the same for other teams who have lost players, though. I don't understand how you can have a competition during your major league season. I think that's amazing that we're playing games whilst you lose players. I mean, it makes you not want to sign US internationals, which can't be right for this league.
Last one for me in terms of, and it's been talked about, but Wilf not being available this week. And you also mentioned that you played 3 at the back against Orlando last time. How much does missing players, common opponent, all these things factor into what you're trying to put together for this week?
Yeah, I mean, they all come into my thinking, and simply because we've played them so many times, I know what we're coming up against. We went to the 3 at the back because we thought it would give us a better chance, and actually I thought we played all right on the day. We give too many. We give a couple of really big chances away early in the game. We should have stopped the first goal. Poor defending for the second goal as well, but it was a really good strike. So, we know we can cause them problems, but we know that they've got some quality as well.
Jorge?
I know you touched a lot on the back line and a little bit on offense as well, but maybe just the lack of finishing or the lack of, killing off games, does that concern you a bit? Like going back,
I think killing off games, certainly, because we've had some big chances. Certainly the Kansas City one, we could have come away 4-0 winners of that game. So that's the one that really hurt, that could have put us back on track. And unfortunately we didn't take our chances in that game and gave away silly goals. But we're creating chances this season. You only have to go and look over the last 11 games on XG. We create chances. So we're better at that this season than we were last season. What we've done this season, when we've not been as strong defensively, I think we've changed the back four a lot. I think we got accused of being boring last year. I'd take boring at the moment, and have a few zeros against us, but it's been one of them seasons where we've lost more players than we have done before, and we haven't adjusted to it well enough.
Does playing 4 of the next 5 at home, does this feel like an opportunity to maybe kind of bounce back?
Yes, it does, but we've still got to make sure we're still playing against good teams. Orlando are a good team, so we've got to make sure that we perform well enough. It's not like a tap where you can turn it on and turn it off. We can't just turn up and think we're going to get a victory because we're at home, and our supporters will give us that backing. We knew that this run was going to be tough that we've just been on, and it has been. But my washing machine will get a breather now.
There's been a lot of talk of Patrick Ajiman moving on. I think Derby was the main team that's being talked about right now. Does maybe not potentially counting with Pat for the second part of the season, does that play a role into what you're looking at this transfer window?
I don't know, because at the moment Patrick is still our player. Patrick has not told me that he wants to leave the football club, and until the moment he does, then he won't be leaving the football club. We want to keep our better players here, but, and I said it before, every player has a price. If the price is right for our club to sell the player, and the player wants to go, and all them things are met, then things can happen. But as I say, at this moment in time, Patrick has never said to me that he wants to leave the club.
Nice. And then, is there any specific positions that you are looking at for this upcoming transfer?
Yeah, we are looking. We've lost Doumbia a couple of times already to injury, so it might be an area where we're looking to strengthen again, to get some consistency in that position, and a centre forward. If Patrick does decide that he wants to leave the club, then would obviously have to be ready to move if he wants to do that.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Sam?
Coach, hope you had a good week back at home.
I certainly have, Sam. Have you?
It's been a week. I'll tell you about it sometime.
Okay, mate.
So I did want to start off with, expectations are going to be really high for this match since you're back home, and you've addressed a little bit of this already. But how hard is it going to be to face a team like Orlando right now?
Yeah, it's going to be really hard because we'll be a few players out, and despite us being at home, our confidence will have taken a hit as well because of the results, and that happens when the players are human, so they will be thinking about their performances and whether they've been good enough, and people who've made mistakes will be wondering why they've made mistakes, and it's our job as coaches to put them right on that and actually point them in the right direction. So we hope we've done that, and we start the game well enough against Orlando. I think Orlando have lost the last couple of games as well. So it's a game that we both have to go into with confidence, looking to win the game.
How hard is it going into this transfer window, knowing that you have all of the MLS related restrictions to have to deal with? On the last team roster profile, the Charlotte was showing that it was out of general allocation money. If you have to replace somebody like Patrick Ajiman, who's currently giving a minimal salary hit, with another striker who's likely to cost a lot more, how do you feel constrained by what MLS hits you with, as opposed to with a European club where you might have a lot more roster flexibility?
Well, Sam, I've been here 18 months and I still do not understand how the system works, I must admit. So you're telling me that Patrick, if he gets sold, then it's only a minimum wage that goes out, and so you only have that much to replace it with. It's confusing from somebody who's been at clubs all their career, who has freedom of movement, and players, the players have the strength to be able to move wherever they want.
I know you know, we've talked before about you looking to strengthen the defense in the transfer window, but is there anything else you're looking at from a club perspective to, you know, not just players, but given the adversity that the team has faced, is there anything else that you've talked to the front office about, you know, strengthening or places where you think it could really improve the club?
No, I think the big thing is that we've got to maintain our consistency as a club. The biggest thing that I've always said about being a healthy football club or a healthy organisation is making sure that the culture is right and making sure that that doesn't change in who we are and how we deal with things. So, you know, when results go against you, it's hard for people to, you know, because their behaviours can change, and that's one of the things that I've made sure that doesn't happen. Our behaviours don't change, because if they were the right things when we were first in the league, they're still the right things. So don't stop doing that. So that's been a really important message to not only the players but the staff as well.
And then finally for me, you know, in conversations with the front office, you know, obviously with the stretch, is there anything additional that they've been asking of you or the team, or you know, in your conversations with the front office, have you has it been, you know, pretty clear-eyed that there have been a lot of injuries and challenges this year?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the challenge was straight away when you got the fixture list and you noticed that you only had 2 games out of 11 at home. We knew that was going to be a challenge. However much you want that to not be a challenge, and you know, and if our performances had turned a couple of them results around, it would look a little bit different. And you know, as I explained earlier, we've you know, 2 main indicators are the scoreline, but also XG as well. You know, we on XG would have picked up 10 more points. That's a big difference. I think we'd be 5th in the table if we'd have picked up them points. We haven't, and we have to deal with that. So, you know, it's about dealing with what we have now.